Okay, we're gonna try this Leetcode problem one more time. So the problem is you're given a string S. You have to find the length of the longest substring without repeating characters. So the substring should not have the same character repeated more than once. So for example, and the substring can start from any point. So this is like ABC, ABC. So at this point the substring ends. So the thing is, once we start checking for substrings, we should. The consideration is that the substring can start from any point, any single index of the string. So it can start from the 0th one. So it can start from the first one, and say in this one. So there can be multiple substrings, and we have to find the one which is the longest. So for example, ABC, AB. Okay, so the first substring is ABC, and BC, AB. So that's the second substring. CABC. That's the third substring. ABC. That is the fourth substring, and BCB. BC is the fifth one. CBB. CB is the second last one. B is the second last one, and another B is the last one. So you have to go like this, where we keep moving the index of the starting index one by one progressively, and we have to increase the ending index until the point at which the ending index is pointing to a letter which is already in the existing substring. Okay, so yeah, you can see that it should work for substrings that are just one letter long. So what we're supposed to output is the length of the longest substring, and we don't care about what the substring actually looks like. So PWW, KW. So this one PWW doesn't work. This PWWW doesn't work. WKE works. And looks at the longest one. It's WK. Cool. So string can be it can be 0 length, or it can be as big as 5 into 10 raised to 4 letters long, and it contains English letters, digits, and symbols, and alphabet, whatever, like anything you would consider a character, right? So we could use the character code to identify and check whether two strings are the same. But we can, since we're going to use TypeScript, we can just use simple strict equality operator in JavaScript, that is equal, and it should get the job done. It should check whether the two strings are equal. So what I'm planning to do is have two for loops, and the first for loop is going to move the starting index. So it's going to move one by one. So we have to have every single letter as a starting index, unless the end index happens to reach the length of the string minus 1. So at that point we can just stop going through the loop. So that is an edge case, which means that the entire string is the substring, meaning that every single letter is unique. So there's the external for loop which moves the starting index, and there's a for loop inside it which is going to move the second index. And inside the for loop, I'm thinking that we should check if the current letter is in the existing substring, and if it is not in this existing substring, we can simply add it to the substring. And if it is in the substring, at that point we know that the substring has reached its longest point possible, and at that point we can compare the length of the current substring with the longest length we have. So we have to keep some kind of a counter for the longest number we have right now up until that point, and we can do a comparison and update the longest number if necessary. So enough talk, let's start things out. So first things first, longest substring length. So we're going to start with 0. So this is definitely going to be the minimum number that this can be is 1. So I'm going to use 0. If the minimum number was 0, then I would have used negative infinity in JavaScript. What I mean by minimum number is 1 is that yeah, so minimum number can also be 0 for the case that So let me just use negative infinity, so that as soon as we have that comparison, we can we can set it as 0 if we want, because 0 is going to be greater than minus infinity. This is going to be true. Okay, so this is the first one, and the second one is sort of a current substring for the loop. So that's the next thing, right? So we need a loop, which is going to be a simple for loop, I is equal to 0, I less than. What's going to be less than? It's going to be less than. Okay, it's going to be less than the length of the given string input, and I'm going to make plus plus. So this is the outer string, and inside the inside this outer loop, we're going to have another loop. So this is the starting index I, and this is going to be repeated over here, but instead of I, I'm going to use J. Okay, so this is the ending index J. That's two loops. And what we're going to do is, at this point, okay, so we need to start adding stuff to the current substring. So, but the thing is, the inner loop, it can only start from the index of the first. It can start from the starting index. It can't be lower than the starting index. So what I mean is, like, if I is 2, so if the starting index is like in the middle, or like it's 2, right? If it's this one, then the ending index can't be here. It has to be either this one or the one next to it. So okay, it has to be the same. So what happens if okay, so what's going to happen is okay, so what we're going to use is the J inside the inner loop. So the index of the inner loop, that is the ending index, to successively add letters to our current substring. That way, the outer loop acts as a sort of marker that we keep moving for every single possible substring that we can find inside the input. Okay, so it's going to be string, whatever is given, and J is going to be inside it. So that's going to be the current character. Okay, so if there is no current character, we're going to do some TypeScript mandatory stuff. So if there is no character, it's only error. No current character for given index. No character for given index in input string. Okay, so we should only index the stuff that exists within the length. We know this is true because it's a for loop, but this is just TypeScript, right? TypeScript specific stuff. Next, what we actually have to do is we have to check if the current substring actually contains. So, does current substring contain this letter, this current character? Okay, so for this we're going to use another for loop, which is going to be, which is going to find out is, so we could just technically just do a simple dot includes, so current substring dot includes current character. This technically would work, but we're not going to do that right now, in the interest of using only for loops, so we have more say over the control flow of the app. So it's going to say is character in current substring false. So we're going to assume it's not there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use another for loop. J is equal to 0, j less than, what's it going to be? J is going to be less than the current substring. So essentially we're going to check for throughout the length of the substring, we're going to take every single character inside the current substring. Yeah, so sorry for this. This can't be j. This has to be k because we use j up above. This has to be k. K. It's substring character. It's another TypeScript type card, right? No character for given index in current substring. Now we have to do the actual check. So if the current substring character is the same as the current character, we can say that character in substring is true. Okay, so that's what happens. So we check the current substring. If it's already there, we have to say that it's there. So at the point once this loop finishes, we can say if what's it going to do? If the character is in the substring, we have to stop, right? We have to stop adding stuff. So let's write it in pseudocode first. If character is in substring, stop, terminate substring. Terminate substring. Terminate the substring. Have to get update the longest count. Else, so this is the other case. So if the character isn't in substring, so this is the easier one, right? So what we have to do is concat current character to substring. So that part first. So substring is equal to current character substring concat current character. So if something is true, so what is that something? So if is character in current substring, so what do we have to do at this point? If it's in the substring, how do we terminate? To stop running the inner for loop. That's interesting. So at this point, we have to stop executing this. So at this point, I'm thinking we could extract this into a different function. That way, we have absolute control over the control flow. We can just return, which starts the next iteration. So what I need to do is I need to stop the J, right? I need to stop. Let's think about that. So maybe I need to use a break statement. So I'm a little confused because I'm confused on whether a break statement will stop all the subsequent iterations of a for loop, or will it just stop the current one? So I'm guessing it's stopping the current iteration is the job of a continue command. So just to be sure, I'm going to what does break do in a for loop JS? Provides control flow out of the switch. So it's in for loop, right? There is a break statement jumps out of a loop. Let's jump out completely. Ends the loop and the number is 3. Okay, that's what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put we're going to terminate the substring. So we have to break at some point. And I wonder if the break is going to be since this does JavaScript break code inside a block. Can you use break with if statement inside a block? You put the break statement within the block of code. How do you do? Yeah, I think it should work even if it's inside a block because they've used it over here. Yeah, so let's try it that way. No, let me try it over here. And it works like this. Does it make a difference? It makes absolutely. Cool, makes no difference. So I can use a break inside my if block. So yeah, so at this point I should terminate this current substring. That is the break part. And what else should I do? I need to get the length of the current substring and compare it to the longest length. And so how do I do that? So this is this part. Current substring dot length if it's greater than the longest substring length, then longest substring length is equal to it's greater than its current substring dot length. Otherwise, longest substring dot length. Cool. So at this point, if it's bigger, it'll just update it. So also, at this point, the current substring is of length 0, right? Long substring is minus infinity. So it should work. Okay. So at this point, it's going to exit this inner for loop. It's going to go to the outer for loop, and it's going to start with the next index of the next starting index. And it's going to run through the whole thing again. So in the for computation, we can return the length of the longest substring. Let's see if this works. So, okay. Didn't work for this one. Let's see where it didn't work. Got PWW. Okay, I wonder where the K came. So in order to debug this, I'm going to just console log length of long substring and pww. See what happens. What I also need to check is at this point, I'm going to just console log current substring, right? PW. I wonder how that works. Yikes, I wonder what this is. So the concatenation let's think about this. Let me put the console log somewhere around here and run it again. So this is every inner loop. So initially it's empty, as it should be. Second time around it's so for the first one it pushed P, didn't find it. The second time it went to W and it pushed it. So I think I need to reset the current substring also. I think that's the problem. Second time around it pushed W. At this point I guess it should have broken out to the next one. Yeah, I think that is the case. So at this point I need to reset the current substring is. So instead of doing this, I could just move it inside the loop. I think the easier thing to do. Let's see about that. Let's run it again. WKE is our thing, right? So I think this should work. Okay. Okay, it worked for the first 3 test cases. Let's submit it and see how it works. So for a string of length 0, so the problem is it does not work for 0 length strings. So we have a very easy fix here. I can just put this as 0. Problem solved, right? Even if where is the point at which we compare? Yeah, longest substring. So even if the current substring is an empty string, it's going to do 0 greater than 0. It's either way going to be set to 0. So let us try and do that again. An empty string. I wonder why that didn't work. So an empty string. Why doesn't an empty string work? Let's try a non-empty string. So for non-empty string, console log current substring. Okay, so for the next one, it gets a space. So when it gets a space, so this point, so length of the thing is 1, right? So it gets to the. Why doesn't it get to the second part? It doesn't run twice. It only runs once. Let's see what that is. Substring character. So probably this didn't even run the first time. Check. Check didn't even run because current substring is empty. Current false. Didn't update shit. So for the first run, it should have just pushed it onto the current substring, right? But I didn't do that. So we're going to do concat a one space. That should work, right? So why didn't that concatenate? Cat. It didn't run the concatenation. I think what's happening is, unless we encounter a character. So okay, so we didn't consider the case in which the second loop runs till the end and it doesn't encounter a different character. So we need to have this line in one more place. This is one case, and the other case is if it gets to the end of the loop. So I'm thinking, should I put an if statement inside this J loop, or should I just put this outside, like at the end of the J loop? So let me think about what will happen if I put it outside. If I put it outside, it gets to the end of the loop, we have a substring, we've added everything to it, and we check again. So if it doesn't do that though, it breaks out of the loop. Okay, so I can't just I can remove this entirely because it's going to run, right? Let's see what happens. Remove this concat though. Oof, that typed. Fs space. Let's see if this works. Okay, we'll remove the other console log. And since this is simplify it a little bit. Let's try it in Leetcode editor. Okay, I think it worked, and okay, nice. So our runtime is pretty shit. That's what I think. It's really shit because we are using multiple loops, 3 different loops, and the memory. Memory is also not that amazing. Okay, so it's if you look at the time complexity, it's going to run depending on the length of the string, input string, right? So it could run n times over here, plus inside it could run to the entire length of it. What about that though? Well, that is one thing we didn't think about. So if we get to the end of the string, we can just break the outer for loop. Let me think about that though. So if we reach a point at which the current substring dot length is equal to s dot length, we can just ignore the rest of the stuff, right? So let me try that. So if current substring dot length is equal to s dot length, can break out of this one too. Let me so this works, we've seen that it works, but I think that's one case that I didn't think about. So let me try that again. It's just one more line, right? Okay, so runtime is still pretty shit, but the positive thing is we reduced the. Okay, we just handled one edge case. That's the only thing. But the runtime is still pretty shit. So it's because we have three loops, right? I think we could have done this better if we used a hash map, but that was not the point of this video. This video was just trying to do this using simple for loops, getting the job done, and. Maybe in a different video we'll take a look at how to do this using a bit more efficient method in terms of time complexity. So we could use hash map. Okay, so that was it for this video. See you guys in the next one.